Let's try again. Good evening, members, and Happy New Year. Welcome to this digital meeting of Council being held via Microsoft Teams on Wednesday, the 26th of January 2022. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome back Mrs. Christina Harry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd like to thank all members and officers for all the kind messages received during my absence. They were very much appreciated by myself and my family. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Dave Street, who so ably stepped in for me. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Before we start the meeting, I would also ask Council to join me in expressing our deepest sympathies to Councillor Jamie Pritchard, whose mother has very sadly passed away last week. Members, I will now ask Mrs. Harry, Chief Executive, to confirm the proceedings for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nosweithar and croeso i Cyngor. Good evening, members, and welcome to Council. We will not be live streaming this evening's meeting. However, it will be recorded and made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images and audio of those individuals present and or speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council website at www.caerphilly.gov.uk. If members lose connection during the live meeting, please make every attempt to reconnect. However, the meeting will continue as long as it remains quorate. Democratic services are available and will be able to assist you to reconnect if necessary. I wish to also remind everyone that the Mayor has the discretion to terminate or suspend recording if, in her opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings or that continued recording might infringe the rights of any individual. The Mayor also has the right to remove persons from the remote meeting if necessary. All members should have already checked their headphones, microphones and IT equipment before the meeting commenced this evening. I wish to also remind members and officers to ensure that all microphones have been muted. Group leaders, deputy leaders, cabinet members and key officers have been asked to leave their cameras on. All of the members and officers, please can I ask you to turn off your cameras unless making representations. Members will need to unmute their microphones and turn on their cameras when called to speak by the Mayor. Votes this evening will be taken by using Microsoft Forms, and when a vote is required, the monitoring officer will direct members to open show conversation, where the form will appear, and then click on yes, no, or abstain, and then finally click on submit vote. The names and votes cast this evening will be recorded and published to our website following the meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. Item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Members, we have received an apology from Councillor June Stone, Deputy Mayor, and I would like to take the opportunity to wish her a speedy recovery. Apologies are also detailed within meeting conversation or chat, and if members are aware of any apologies not listed, please add them to the chat or notify Democratic Services. Item 2, Mayor's announcements. I would like to thank Year 7 of Healthy Comprehensive School for their wonderful designs for the Mayor's Christmas card. It was a difficult competition to judge, but the lucky artist was a young man named Owen Rowe, who was thrilled with his prize. Unfortunately, at the beginning of December, I had to isolate due to being in contact with COVID and had to miss the Christmas concert of the BTM brass band. It was something that my consort and I were looking forward to attending, and I hope that everyone had a great evening. I also had to miss the British Empire Medal presentation held in Newport for recipients from South Wales, and would like to congratulate all those who received an honour, especially those from Caerphilly County. I also had the pleasure of sending a card, flowers and a video message to a resident of Teak Iscoed residential home on her 100th birthday. I would also like to congratulate everyone involved with the Operation Santa for another successful year. I visited Credit Safe and Link Financial with Councillor Shane Cook to collect the gifts for the children, and it was amazing to see how generous everyone had been. Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is a statement from the Leader of Council. Councillor Marsden, can you give your statement to Council, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to provide an update about a key number of issues in my statement this evening, members. So firstly, I'd like to provide a brief overview of our 2022-23 budget proposals, which were agreed by Cabinet last week. We have developed a bold and ambitious budget, which includes £10 million of investment while protecting frontline services from cuts as the authority recovers from the ongoing pandemic. The draft budget also includes a proposed council tax increase of 2.5%, which is well below the rate of inflation and the lowest increase for a number of years. This budget really shows that Caerphilly cares, and we are supporting and protecting the community during these difficult times. Please encourage as many people as possible to have their say and to take part in our ongoing budget consultation. I would really welcome the views of the public, and I will listen carefully to what our communities think of the proposals. Next, I'm delighted to announce that we recently completed our Welsh Housing Quality Standard programme. This flagship programme has seen the largest ever single investment made into council-owned homes in the county borough, and appropriate celebrations are being planned. Over £260 million has been invested in total through the programme, including internal and external home refurbishments, adaptations to make sure homes meet the needs of individual tenants, and environmental improvements to enhance our local communities. Delivering a programme of this scale across our 10,660 rented properties has not been without its challenges, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to thank everyone who has been involved in delivering this programme and to give recognition to the significant contribution made by Councillor Lisa Phipps in her former role as Cabinet Member for Housing. Turning now to the current coronavirus situation, you will be aware that Welsh Government is planning the reintroduction of Alert Level 0 at the end of this week, thanks to the improving picture across Wales. In response to these changes, I continue to work closely with the Chief Executive and the Cabinet to consider the impact on services and agree our next steps. We are all working through the details, and I will update you accordingly. But what we don't anticipate is a big surge of staff or members returning to the office in the near future. Our approach will be slow and steady, gradually increasing numbers and reviewing the impact regularly. Next, I would like to take this opportunity to reflect on our collective award successes over recent months. You will be aware that we narrowly missed out on being crowned Council of the Year at a recent ceremony, and Christina Harry was also shortlisted for the prestigious title of Chief Executive of the Year and was highly commended. Councillor Kevin Etheridge also scooped the top title of a Community Champion at the LGIU Awards. I'm sure you will all agree that these are fantastic achievements which reflect our ambitions to deliver excellence in everything we do. So congratulations to all concerned. Finally, I would like to end my statements with a special appeal to every elected member here this evening. Unfortunately, we are seeing an increasing number of councillors and candidates being subjected to abuse, threats and intimidation. As well as being totally unacceptable, this behaviour undermines the principles of free speech, democratic engagement and debate. I stand soldier to soldier with our two group leaders to call for an end to abuse, intimidation and harassment of any kind. This pledge has been widely publicised both locally and nationally. This is particularly relevant as we enter the key period in the run-up to the local government elections in May. We have pledged to participate in a fair election campaign which is based on positive campaigning and merit, rather than personal attacks and smears against individuals. We encourage all elected members and candidates in the forthcoming elections to do the same. In addition, we will publicly call out any such inappropriate behaviour and take a zero tolerance approach to abuse. Whatever political colour we represent, we all stand united in our shared purpose of representing the people of our county borough. Attacks on political policies and procedures is what we're here to defend. However, personal attacks on individuals is not acceptable and will not be tolerated. This is not how we conduct our political business here in Caerphilly. Whatever our differences, we are all here united under the umbrella of Team Caerphilly, working together for the good of all. Please join in this movement for a positive change. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Mayors, I would like to remind you that this is a statement and there will be no questions, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. which is item 4, to receive petitions under the Rule of Procedure 28.3. Councillor Sorales, I understand that you have a petition to present. Can you please turn on your camera and microphone? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to officially present this petition from residents of Penmain Estate, Oakdale, to call on the council to make highway improvements to ensure safe vehicle egress from the estate at the junction of Vancouver Drive and Oakdale Terrace. Can I add, Madam Mayor, that all the signatures on this petition are residents of the estate who are directly affected by the problems at this junction, because the junction is immediately opposite the very busy Cross Oaks pub, the post office and Penmain Chapel, which is used by Mynyddyslwyn Choir. All three facilities rely on on-street parking for their viability. And I support these petitions in their request for the council to find a solution for residents to safely egress this junction. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sorales, and I accept your petition. Item 5 is presentation of awards. Members, we have several awards to make this evening, starting with the award to one of our own members, a presentation to Councillor Kevin Etheridge, Community Champion of the Year. Leader, can I please ask you to introduce the first award? Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Mayor. In December last year, Councillor Kevin Etheridge was awarded the Community Champion Award at the Local Government Information Unit and Churches, Charities and Local Authorities 2021 Councillor Awards. The awards celebrate local councillors across Wales and England, and Councillor Etheridge received this prestigious award in recognition of his outstanding level of commitment and drive in spearheading successful campaigns, receiving 676 nominations for the award from residents across the borough, and was the only Welsh councillor nominated for the Community Champion Award. Councillor Etheridge was also praised for his work with Bowel Cancer UK, raising awareness of bowel cancer symptoms, and has become a strong advocate for screening tests since his own diagnosis in 2019. The winners were decided by a panel of judges, which included senior councillors and officers who extend huge congratulations to Councillor Etheridge at the ceremony in London on the 1st of December 2021. Members, it gives me great pleasure to ask you to join me in recognising Councillor Etheridge and congratulating him on this fantastic achievement. Diolch, Councillor Etheridge. I think we should all do a round of applause.
That was up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Etheridge, would you like to come in, please?
Hello, can you hear me? I've had major IT problems. I've emailed Christina about 16 times. I'm not doing this on purpose, Philip, but I promise. It's you just freezing up after 5-6 seconds and everything is going blank. And I'm getting stressed and very anxious. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me? I heard part of that. Just thank you all very much. At the end of the day, you know, it was a People's Award, and it was an award which really reflected all the hard work of
It seems Councillor Etheridge has frozen. We'll give him a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to come see if he comes back in.
Said he frozen on my screen, Matt.
Yeah.
Perhaps if he turned his camera off, Mayor.
Yeah. Councillor Etheridge, if you can hear us, maybe turn your camera off, and that might help your connectivity.
Perhaps somebody could ring him, Matt.
I'm just getting advice. Hold on a second. Okay, apologies for that. Councillor Mann, I'm assuming you want to congratulate Councillor Etheridge. Shall we wait until to see if we can get him back into the meeting before you do that?
Yeah, your assumption was correct, Mayor. I'm quite happy to wait.
Thank you. I tell you what, we'll move on to the next award, which has a oh, I can see Councillor Etheridge. We'll go back to him. You're on mute, Councillor Etheridge.
Councillor Etheridge is quite stressed and anxious after logging in so many times. I'd just like to say I'd like to thank the council, and I'd like to thank all the people that nominated me. The nomination was actual People's Award, and you know, it's a reflection on all the councillors which work so hard for their communities. And thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, if I lose you, you know, it's please ignore my get Jamie to answer the question, whatever, because I'm just getting it's a night.
Don't worry, Councillor Etheridge, that's not a problem. Councillor Mann, you want to come in at that point? Thank you.
Yes, but I think we've lost him again, have we, Mayor? So shall I hang on in case he comes back? Or whatever. Well, it's recorded anyway, isn't it? I just wanted to support the comments of the leader. It's a major achievement. I think he was the only councillor from the whole of Wales who was actually considered. And you know, the number of nominations that Kevin received, I think, speaks for itself. We all know how active he is. He's too active at times for some colleagues, but he does do a fantastic job in his area, and I think it's also a recognition for the authority as well. The fact that a councillor from Caerphilly County Borough has actually won this award. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Okay, our next award has a number of recipients, and I would like to call on Christina Harry, our Chief Executive, to make the introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Members will be aware for many years we have recognised staff with 25 years service in local government with a £250 gift voucher and a letter of thanks, something many of our staff have achieved over many years. However, we have come to recognise that many of our dedicated and loyal staff within Team Caerphilly remain with us way beyond 25 years. So it is important that we mark this significant milestone. Today, we have almost 50 staff who are valued members of Team Caerphilly following their 40-year milestone. To recognise 40 years service, Cabinet have agreed a £250 gift voucher in addition to a special invitation for afternoon tea with the Mayor, which we will issue when COVID restrictions allow. It is important that we recognise their loyalty and celebrate the contribution of our staff as dedicated public servants. I would like to share some slides with you. So Emma, if you could share the presentation, please, that would be great. I would like to share some slides with you which details the names of those 49 officers who have reached this significant milestone in their local government careers. And I'm sure members would wish to formally recognise this great achievement and place on record your appreciation. I would also like to mention that we have a long-standing member on our corporate management team, Dave Street, who has achieved 43 years of continuous local government service. And I am sure he would be the first to say local government offers a varied, a challenging, an exciting and rewarding career. And I will now hand over to the leader who also wishes to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I'm so proud of all the staff across the organisation. However, I'm particularly thankful to those staff receiving this acknowledgement, as their dedication, loyalty and commitment over many years of service to the council and the people of the County Borough deserve special recognition. So well done, everyone.
Thank you both, Mrs. Harry and Councillor Marsden. You probably noticed that I was having a little chuckle to myself because my husband was one of the recipients of 40+ years service, and he would probably say he has tea with the Mayor every day. but congratulations to everybody. Moving on swiftly. Item 6, declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Please raise your hand if you have any declarations. Thank you. Nope, there's no hands raised, so we'll move on to item 7, which is to
Sorry,
approve.
Mayor.
Yes.
My hand wouldn't work.
Okay.
I want to declare an interest on item 9. My wife and I have owned a second home for the last 20 years, so I think it's best that I declare an interest on this matter.
Thank you, Councillor David. Mr. Tranter, do you need to come in at that point?
No, that's a matter for Councillor David, of course. He's out of interest, Councillor David. Are you going to leave the meeting whilst this item is discussed?
I get trouble coming back, so I'll okay. I'll stay out of the.
Stay out of the yeah. Okay, if you stay out of the discussion and yeah, okay, and so I'll note that one as a personal and a prejudicial interest that you are a second home owner within the borough. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, there's no other hands showing, so we will move on to item 7, which is to approve and sign the following minutes. Members, we will take the minutes for accuracy and then I will ask for someone to move and second them as a true account. So it's council held on the 16th of November 2021 for accuracy. Just bear with me while I bring up the pages on my screen. So it starts in your pack, members, on page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, and that was the last page. Subject, are there any comments on those minutes, please? No, thank you. Could I have somebody to move them as a true record then, please?
Move.
Thank you, whoever. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Priest. And who was the seconder?
Councillor Huzzy.
Second that, Councillor Adams.
We've got 2 there. Thank you both. Okay, so they've been moved and seconded. Mr. Tranter, could you take us to the vote, please?
Yes, certainly, Madam Mayor. There's should be a poll coming up any time, and there it is. It's in front of you now, members. So if you can quickly vote to approve the minutes, please. Thank you. Thank you, members. Madam Mayor, the minutes are approved. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Taylor here. I abstained because I was not present at that meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And Councillor Jones, you've got your hand raised, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't able to vote because it's not come up on my screen, I'm afraid. Okay. But I approve, obviously.
Okay. Okay. I will note your approval, Councillor Jones. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tranter.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on to item 8. It's to receive and to answer questions received under the rule of procedure 10.4. Could I please ask all members, when presenting your questions to council, to stick to the wording submitted and not deviated from what's included in your agenda. Councillor Etheridge, if you're still connected to us, could you please put on your camera and microphone and ask your question? I'm not sure if he's still with us. If not, he did request that Councillor Pritchard, whether you could answer the just still answer his question. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. There are currently 17 school contracts out to tender. The council is experiencing a shortfall in available operators that are able to fulfil the number of contracts required, with some contracts being tendered and subsequently re-tendered multiple times. Indicative information suggests that the biggest reason for this is the number of available drivers within the transport industry. This is for both taxi and bus operations. Where the council is unable to fulfil the transport requirement, parents are kept up to date on the delays incurred. Alternative travel options are offered where available. For example, a ticket on the public transport network, and in some cases, the offer of a parental reimbursement is offered. Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, my camera was off and I was on mute then, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Sorales, I understand you also have a question. Can you please put on your camera and microphone and ask your question, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one short question. Can the Cabinet Member for Social Care and Housing explain what Caerphilly County Borough Council has done to maximise income for eligible residents throughout COVID?
Thank you. Councillor Cook, can we have your response, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. At the start of the pandemic, the council immediately responded as it quickly recognised the financial difficulties caused by COVID-19. In April 2020, a crisis telephone line was quickly put in place by housing's rent staff, who provided a range of financial support to residents, many of whom had never faced such financial difficulties before. A centralised food bank contact, collection and distribution system was put in place by the Caerphilly Cares team to support provision of vouchers, donations, delivery for residents in a financial crisis. A triage system was established to connect the individual to a local voucher provider, and stock was centrally replenished and managed by securing food and monetary donations from the private sector. Since April 2020, the team has made over 2,000 referrals to local food banks to receive a food parcel or fuel voucher. In addition, the Caerphilly Cares team supported, funded and developed several fair share schemes that offer free or low-cost food to their local community members, working with community groups and organisations, securing £250,000 of funding from Welsh Government to run a small grant scheme to support local food insecurity projects. The team has also advised people on how to get a bank account or credit union account. Over the coming months, it became clear their reactive approach was inadequate, and Caerphilly needed to put in place a proactive strategy which focused on income maximisation for residents. Additional resources were identified as part of Caerphilly Cares, and an income maximisation team in housing rent was created. In addition, the council has made 3,263 self-isolation payments, totalling just over £2 million, and 5,743 winter fuel payments, totalling £573,000. I want to thank all the staff involved in providing such an important service to our most vulnerable residents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Moving on to item 9, it's the notice of motion for second homes. Councillor John Roberts, can you put on your camera and microphone, please, and present your notice of motion? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Diolch Feires. Diolch am y cyfle. Tai gwag I gyd yn ei gyfanrwydd o navy blue. This one motion deals with different concerns, all to do with empty buildings. Part of it is about second homes. We have got a few second homes in Caerphilly. We haven't got the problems that other councils have got. We haven't got them, and we're not likely to have them for a long time. That doesn't mean to say that other people's problems today won't be ours tomorrow. We're so close to the M4 corridor. We're so close to the A470 travel line. And as time goes on, we'll be opening up tourism even better than it is today. And we're so close to lots of different areas. And should it come, we need to be prepared. I wouldn't be that concerned for the bigger areas that we've got. I wouldn't be concerned about the bigger towns. I would be concerned about some of the other places, the quieter little villages. Drenewydd maybe, not Rumney. Derry maybe, not Bargoed. Argoed possibly, not Blackwood. And Senghennydd, not Caerphilly. I think it's time that we started considering options and planning for those options. That's the first part of this motion. The second part of the motion is really a now issue, isn't it? It's the empty buildings, especially when we remember the number of people that we've got on a waiting list. I think we've got between 10 and 11,000 council homes and flats. I think it's a really good thing that this authority is building. Really good. And when that came to council, I think it was supported across the board. So we've got that many homes and flats, but we have got round about 5,000 on a waiting list. It's fine that we're building. It's a good thing that we're building. But a recent FOI said that we've got around 1,200 empty properties. And if we look at those, if we're able to use those, bring them back online, that will go quite a way as well to helping out possibly our waiting list. So we come to this motion. Motions like this, I suppose, sometimes attract a lot of red tape, understandably. But it would be good if we could move on this and move on it quite urgent. It's a problem that we need to start addressing now. That's why in the motion we use the word, when I find it, that we don't ask, we instruct officers, not trying to be rude, we're just trying to get at the urgency of our difficulties. So with that, I leave it. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. I move.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Do we have a second for the motion, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to second this motion, and I was happy to set up a recent meeting with myself, the Deputy Leader, Councillor Roberts and Councillor Mann to discuss this motion and the ongoing issue of empty properties. Empty properties is a very complex issue. The Cabinet 2020 approved the creation of an empty property team, but with the pandemic impact on recruitment and staffing levels, the team's only been fully operational since October 2021. The empty property team are currently targeting 103 empty properties that have been empty for more than 10 years, as well as the delivery of Phase 2 of the Valley Task Force Welsh Government Empty Homes Grant Programme, and has produced the Empty Property Enforcement Action 5-year plan, which was approved by Welsh Government on the 16th of December 2021. If the motion is supported tonight, I'll be very keen to see the Financial Report, and as Councillor Roberts said, hopefully very soon. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you have finished making your representations. Thank you. I'll call Councillor Steve Skivens first, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I need some clarity here. When the comment was made earlier about prejudicial or personal interest, it wasn't clarified whether this only applied to Caerphilly County. I have a business premise in another county area with accommodation above, which the local authority is deeming to be a second home. So I need some clarity from Mr. Tranter on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Tranter, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Skivens, no need to declare an interest in my view on that. This motion is about empty properties and second homes within this borough. You've said that you own business premises and residential premises outside the borough. in my view, that shouldn't in any way stop you taking part in the debate, and no interest to declare there. As always, though, it's a matter for you, but my advice would be no need to declare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor Pritchard, please.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Roberts and to Councillor Mann for approaching myself and the leader initially, and then with Councillor Shane Cook for having the meeting. I think it was on Monday the 17th. Councillor Roberts has made his contribution and mentioned new build council houses, and I think he was right to do that, because that is certainly part of the issue. It's not all the issue, but this motion is part of the issue as well. So all I'll say is I hope it gets the support that I think it deserves, and it's good to see both the Labour Group and Plaid Cymru and the Independents, hopefully, you know, all supporting this motion brought forward by Councillor Roberts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Mann, please.
Okay, diolch, Mayor. Could I again support the motion, which was very adequately explained by the mover and seconder, and mutual admiration society here. Again, I would like to thank Councillors Pritchard and Cook for taking the time to meet us and thoroughly discussing the problem. Second homes and holiday homes are quite emotive subjects, as we all know, and they are a huge issue in parts of rural Wales. And as John Roberts said, we are not in that position in this county borough, but we are in a position where we have something like 1,200 empty homes, and I'm sure we've all got empty homes on our own wards, which cause problems. Myself and Councillor Goff, for example, have been chasing an issue literally in the high street in Llanbradach. I think there's a house been empty for something like 5 years. It's causing all sorts of issues it's the middle of the terrace. It's causing all sorts of issues to neighbours, and there seems to be a huge difficulty in even identifying the owner of this property. You're talking about damp coming through. You're talking about rodents running around all over the place, and it is very frustrating. So really, if we were able to solve even half the amount of empty homes and get them lived in as decent homes, that saves something like 600 houses, which don't have to be done under new build, with all the controversy that we see about identifying building sites and that sort of thing. It is a far better way to tackle provision of homes by bringing in houses which are not being properly used at the moment and making sure that they are used properly. So the more effort that the authority can put into solving this problem, I think it will be a benefit to residents all over the county borough. Diolch, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Mike Davis, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I am in support of this motion. My concern is about empty properties. I will understand that the council will be aware of most empty properties, but not all of them. I'm aware there is a link for tax relief on empty properties on our council website, but I wondered if I've missed it, if there is a link on our website, so as residents of the Caerphilly Council area can report empty properties. I feel this is something that sometimes is very frustrating for residents living next door to properties that have been empty for a long length of time. And I just wondered that if there isn't a link, do you think it is reasonable to consider having one on our website? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Mr. Street, I think you want to come in there, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davis. No, I don't think there is a link on the website at the moment. I think your suggestion is a very helpful one and something we'll look at straight away. I think having somewhere within our website where people can do that can only help us going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Street. Councillor Dix, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, obviously the issue of empty properties is a very complex one. They can be empty for various reasons. People die, they might have no next of kin. It can take a long time to track them down. I remember a house in Blackwood was empty for, I think it was 11 years. And then they found the relative who lived in Bristol, who then inherited the property, and it was sold. So there's lots of different reasons why properties become empty, and sometimes it's because there is no next of kin and there's issues around ownership, who inherits, etc., which are complex, as you'll agree, and not easily to solve unless you're going to compulsory purchase or sequestrate people's property, which I wouldn't want to go down that road if we could help it. We need to do all we can to make sure that there is a way that we can help people to find if next of kin. That would be the way to do it. That worked for me when I had solved the problem I had in William Street. On another issue as well, it's always wise to look at what we do ourselves as a council regarding homelessness. It's a subject close to my heart. I've been working with homeless people for the last 11 years, and before that with substance misuse services with homeless people as well. So I'm well acute awareness of the situation of homelessness and the pressures on finding properties. I was just wondering, as a council, do we know how long it takes us, how many council properties we have empty at the moment, and how long does it take us as a council to turn around a property before a family or a person can move into them after somebody's deceased or left the property?
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Street, do you want to come back on that one, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dix. I don't have that information at hand in terms of numbers. I can certainly get that for you and send it out in due course. Obviously, the amount of time it takes depends on the property concerned and some of the complexities attached to that property. As you can imagine, not all the empty properties that we deal with are left in particularly good condition, and some take longer than others. Obviously, we would accept that our performance in this area has been impacted over the last 18 months or so, because we've really been doing only emergency type calls. But I'll gather the information for you and circulate it to you tomorrow.
Thanks for that, Dave. Thanks very much.
Thank you both. Councillor Owen, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Dix just stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to ask a similar question with respect to the properties that we have ourselves. 1,200 properties, of course, I'm going to support this motion. 5 to 10 years, that is a lot of time. I'm assuming if we support it, it gets taken forward. We will look into the detail in terms of financial penalties, and hopefully the council won't receive too many of those, as we won't have many properties, hopefully.
Thank you,
So
Councillor.
it's more of a comment than a question, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dix, do you want to come back in? You've just raised your hand again.
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Just a supplementary question, if I could. On the empty properties that we currently have, the 1,200, do they pay council tax?
Mr. Street, could you answer that question for us, please?
I can't, Madam Mayor. I'm hoping Steve Harris is on the call. I'm sure he can.
Mr. Harris, please.
Yeah, depending on the circumstances, we do charge 100% of the council tax, but this is a very complex area. And if members are minded to support the motion, obviously we'll make sure all of those various aspects are covered off in the report that we present to you.
Thank you both.
Okay, so we do think they are paying council tax at the moment then, yeah, 100%, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I've not got any other hands showing.
Madam Mayor, I've had my hand up. Councillor Priest it is, please.
Apologies, Councillor Priest, your hand has not been showing on my screen. Please continue.
Right, fine. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I do support the motion. A little bit perhaps information I can perhaps try and grasp tonight. On the houses that are deemed left empty, would we have any figures on the number that were council houses that were purchased on the right to buy? And do we have any information on when houses are bought? Not now, because I know it's stopped on the right to buy. Was there any indication on there that it was there for a purely and simply the right to buy for a profit margin and left empty till we actually know doing something about it? Or have we got anything there to say, right, you're going to leave it empty for a certain amount of time? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Street, would you like to come in there?
Yeah, I don't have that information, and Councillor Priest, I'll certainly make some inquiries. I'm sure we'll have information on the number of properties that were previously council tenancies and have been bought up in right to buy. Obviously, the reason why those properties were bought is slightly more difficult for us, and I'll make some inquiries on whether we've got information on how many of them remain vacant.
Fine, thank you for that, Mr. Street.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Leonard, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question, really. If previously on a right to buy, a tenant bought their property, obviously there are many properties within the borough that have been bought and purchased by previous tenants. If houses that are, say, on council estates or previously owned by the council, would the council ever put a bid in to buy houses back and restock from, from tenants that have previously bought off the council under the right to buy? I'm just wondering if they can start to replenish stock and recoup houses that were once sold on the RTB.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Street, do you want to come in there? Thank you.
I don't think it's something we've done in any kind of quantity. I know there's been the odd occasion where we've bought properties previously council houses for different reasons, but it is something we're actively looking at, Councillor Leonard. We've talked about new build tonight, and that's obviously a very important aspect of increasing our stock, and particularly our council house stock. But the ability to buy houses on the open market is something we are actively looking at.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor Skivens, you've got a quick supplementary, please.
Yes, Mayor. Just to pick up on the point that Councillor Leonard raised, Gwynedd Council is actively looking at repurchasing properties. But that wasn't the point I wish to make. My understanding is that with empty properties, the council collects the council tax on behalf of HMRC, and landlords can have their property delisted, in which case it takes them out of the council tax criteria. And this is how sometimes these properties remain sat there with no income to the local authority, even though we still have a degree of responsibility. Just for clarity for the meeting, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Skivens. Okay, Mr. Harris, do you want to come back in at that point?
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on the comment just made. There have been instances in other authorities where second homes have actually been registered for business rate purposes. Where that's happened, we don't get council tax, and because of small business rate relief, they don't pay rates in many cases as well. So there is an impact on the public purse. But again, as I said earlier, if members are minded to support this motion, all of these issues will be set out in a report in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. There are no further hands, so I will call on Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. The voting poll will be on your screens any moment, and there it is, miracle of science. Members, if you could vote, please, as quickly as possible on the notice of motion on second homes. Thank you.
It's a blank form on my screen, Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Mann, if I'll make a note. Do you wish to support the motion? Notes of motion, I presume you do.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Oh, it's come up now, so
Okay.
I'll vote in the normal way.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Excuse me, Mr. Tranter, Councillor Owen.
Yep.
I've got nothing as either, and I would like to vote for, please.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. Thank you, Councillor Owen. Any other members having any trouble?
Councillor Jones has a hand raised, Mr. Tranter.
Yes,
Councillor
again, I'm sorry,
Jones?
but there's nothing coming up on my screen, but I support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, we'll make a note of that. There we are then, Madam Mayor. The motion, I was going to say, is unanimously approved. There is one abstention. So it is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. Item 10 on the agenda is another notice of motion for the national energy crisis. Leader, can you present your notice of motion, please? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think we're all very too aware of the crisis that's looming with energy prices, and I'm sure in the coming months and more households will see the increase, and obviously the magnitude of that we've never seen before in terms as the energy price cap is removed. So I think, you know, all of this in line with the cost of living, you know, the impacts of Brexit and the COVID pandemic, you know, it is absolutely a perfect storm. So obviously, as set out in the notice of motion, it details what we would like to do in calling on the UK government to fix and actually act and be decisive as a government to the reduction of the VAT on energy bills, an introduction of new lower price cap on energy bills to protect households and excessive price rises, the implementation of grants or interest-free loans to encourage the take-up of renewable energy solutions such as domestic solar and PV for private homeowners and local businesses. It is now more than ever that we need to act to protect our households. You know, across Caerphilly, people will be facing the brunt of this, particularly those that have, you know, had fixed tariff rates. This will change in later spring, and I'm sure that, you know, that with national insurance increases, etc., will be very difficult for many to swallow. So I would appreciate your support in this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Councillor Whitcomb, I understand you wish to second this motion. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm more than happy to support this motion going forward. Only this afternoon I received an email from my energy supplier telling me I'm going to have to pay £60 a month extra from April, which is an indication. And many people will suffer because of this. And a reduction in VAT on fuel bills will go a major way to help resolving the problem. More than happy to second it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whitcomb. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand again by clicking the hands up button when you are finished making your representations. Thank you. Councillor Mann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As indicated by the signatories, the Plaid Group is very happy to support this motion. It's a perfect storm at the moment with prices, isn't it? It's not just energy. It's food bills. There was an item I was listening to on the radio this morning which demonstrated huge rises in some of the basic food costs that people were facing. And I think we're going to have more and more people who will have to benefit from the likes of food banks, which quite honestly is a disgrace, which was alleged to be the fifth richest country in the world, I believe we're told we're living in. Yet we've got people in this very difficult situation. And I mean, I would like to think that the UK government, because it is in their hands, are going to take some action in relation to the energy prices. More difficult to know what you can do about supermarkets who some people would say are profiteering, but at least I believe the UK government could take various measures to maybe relieve the burden on the people who are paying these bills. Again, I understand that the energy companies, the wholesale suppliers, are making record profits, yet it seems that they're keeping all those profits without any sort of a threat to even take a percentage of them. So I think the whole thing needs a very close look at, and really we've got to do everything we can to protect the people who are most vulnerable in our society. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Dix, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, this is another complex issue. There's not a quick fix in any way, shape or form, really. Global energy price set globally on supply and demand. In the UK, as we have not issued more licenses in the North Sea. The Cambrian field was one of the ones where we get gas from. Obviously, there's more demand than there is supplies of gas. That leaves us as a nation vulnerable to instability in the energy markets, which we're now seeing. So that needs to be looked at on a governmental scale. If we're still using gas, why aren't we using our own gas rather than importing gas from Qatar into Milford Haven? Obviously, you increase the amount of gas supply, you reduce the cost. If everybody found a diamond in their garden tomorrow, the cost of diamonds would go through the floor, right? So that's the reality of supply and demand. We've got to be accepted for that as well. Also, I think that with Englobe, we also need to look at. I visit many people's houses in work, and the insulation and how to live economically with the means they got is very limited. Lights left on, heating on, windows open. There's a lot of waste out there that we need to educate people with so they can be better custodians of their own energy bill. Insulation is another part of the picture to make sure that people got adequate, good insulation. A drafty house, you'll never heat. You can put all the money you want in the meter. And I also think another issue as well is the people who are on prepaid meters. They pay a extortionate for their supply, which I think if you're on a prepaid meter, it tells you something that they haven't got that money that they can pay a quarterly bill. Therefore, they are in financial trouble anyway, yet they get punished for that. I find that to be quite bizarre, really. Do you know what I mean? We need to be giving these people, charging them the same as everybody else for their gas and electric. I think that would go a long way to help people as well. Just my thoughts on that, and on the whole subject of that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dix. Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I am here to support this motion 100%. The problem we've seen over decades and decades, Madam Mayor, is as soon as the price goes up right away. As soon as the price goes down, the energy markets haven't for many, many years wanted to pass on them savings, right? And the thing is, thankfully, when the price cap came in, it did help a bit. But trillions upon trillions has been taken out of people's pockets and given to shareholders. And now when the prices are high, we are relying on a Tory government that helped to sell off our gas fields for them to put caps on them there. And I just can't see it happening. And where I will disagree with Nigel to a certain point there, that we have to get our own gas, the problem what you will have the Tory MPs shouting for more and more fracking to take place. And this cannot be allowed. It definitely cannot be allowed, because they're just going to destroy what country we've got left. Now, to me, the way we should be moving forward is moving away from natural gas, and let's get electric boilers, electric things running our heaters. We do not need gas. There's the elements there, get them in there, get them working. Let's use the technology, but put it at a price that people can afford to change away from gas. I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Priest, please.
Fine. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, to a degree, I agree with Nigel and other councillors, but I think the bottom of it is this. Gas, electricity, water, you name it, we owned it. Gas, electricity, water, we do not own it now. People already said about the profits that are being made, extortionate profits being made. We have no control whatsoever as a populace, as a country who actually brought it on stream. I think the only way you're going to do it, and I don't want to sound an ultra left-wing Trotskyite, But the only way you're going to do this to help our residents is to have control over it, not extortionate control where we take every penny that they have, but it's got to be on a pro rata where at this moment in time it's all one way. The profits go into Threadneedle Street, and that's the last we see of it. I think the sooner we get hold of it, where we have a big control on the stuff that we produce, and go along with Gary, we've got to go to electric on turbines, we've got to have them, the better, because otherwise we will see this. We'll be talking about next year, we'll be talking the next year after, we'll be talking 10 years later. We have to have control of our power. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I do support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Preece. I have no other hands showing, so I will call on Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, you have your poll. There it is. If you could please vote. Any members who are having difficulty, please raise your voice and I will make a note of how you wish to vote. Thank you. Councillor Owen, you having difficulty?
Yes, it hasn't appeared again, Mr. Tranter.
Okay.
I'll vote for the motion, please.
We'll make a note of that. Thank you very much.
Same goes for me, Mr. Tranter.
Thank you, Councillor Jones.
I support the motion.
Thank you. You are for the motion. We'll make a note of that. Any other members having difficulty? No. Okay. Madam Mayor, that's unanimously carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. Item 11 is a notice of motion for the recognition of St David's Day as an official bank holiday. Councillor Teresa Parry, can you please put on your camera and microphone and present your notice of motion? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I call on the Council to follow the lead of Gwynedd Council, Twalygate, Goel Dewi, St David's Day, as an official bank holiday for the staff working at CCBC. Now, considering the close proximity of St David's Day, I know that Councillor Marsden is going to put in an amendment, which I will support. So really, if Councillor Marsden would like to say her amendment, I'm sure that we can come to an agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. Councillor Marsden, please.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Parry. Thanks ever so much. Yes, so this is the amendment to the notice of motion. St David's Day is an important day in the Welsh year and for our national culture, and we welcome the motion in its ambition to celebrate our patron saint's day as a formal public holiday. However, we feel that this must be done in the right way. It would not be right or fair for those employees of CCBC alone to benefit from a public holiday, whilst their families, members or neighbours employed elsewhere do not. That is why, in the interest of fairness and equity, we would like to make representations to Welsh Government and the UK Government to request national public holidays are created for patron saints of our country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So, Councillor Parry, you moved. Councillor Marsden, yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Marsden, did you second that then? Sorry, I've got a bit confused.
Effectively, I can second that if Councillor Parry's okay with that.
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. The debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you're finished making your representations. Councillor Mann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I think in the quest for equity, we should be having a holiday for St David's Day in Wales. Our Celtic cousins in Scotland and Northern Ireland already have a national holiday to celebrate their saints' days. No reason why England shouldn't have one either, of course. But we are more concerned with Wales, obviously. And I believe, I'm not quite sure, I believe the Welsh Government did request this and was refused. But if that is the case, certainly I think all the local authorities need to be pressurising the Welsh government to carry on with the task, or to start it if they haven't started it already. So just to confirm that we fully support the motion as amended. Dydd Gwyl Dewi, hapus pawb.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Sararis, please.
Yeah, it was just clarity on that issue, Madam Mayor. I'm effectively, the original motion has been withdrawn, and now we have a motion before us as presented by Councillor Marsden, which is the only motion on the floor, yeah?
I believe so. Councillor Parry, yes?
Yes, I'm quite happy with that, to accept the amendment to the motion.
Thank you. Is that okay, Councillor Sararis?
Well, we haven't got an amendment if the original motion was withdrawn. We've got one motion before us, Madam Mayor.
Well, if you want me to read my motion again and then ask Councillor Marsden to reaffirm hers, that's fine. So I call on the councillor.
Well, no. What I'm asking is for clarity. Do we have an amendment or not an amendment? If your original motion that appeared to me was withdrawn, I'm not sure.
No, my motion wasn't withdrawn, but I accept the amendment.
Okay, so we still have a motion and an amendment then. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Tranter, would you like to give some advice, please?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to be clear, members, there is only one motion before you, and the motion is that amendment that Councillor Marsden, the leader, read out. As the proposer of the original motion, it's in Councillor Parry's gift to, she needs to move that motion, which she has effectively done. So the motion is before you, that one that has been read out by Councillor Marsden. I hope that's clear to everyone. There is only one motion before you to debate and vote on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. Councillor Johnson. Sorry. Who wanted to come in then?
Well, my hand is up, Mayor. So
your hand is up, and I was just about to
put the hands up.
I was just about to call you, Councillor Johnson, and I thought I could hear somebody else, but please continue.
Yeah, well, I was calling. I put my hand up to have the same as Roy, because I thought when you put in a motion, you have a proposer and a seconder. So the first one wasn't, but we've come to an agreement that it's the two, and I support the motion, Madam Mayor. I should have 2 days off. I should have St. Patrick's and St. David's, but that's me being greedy.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Are there any other comments? I have no hands raised. Nope. Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Thank you.
Again, members, the poll will be in front of you any moment. Don't forget, you are voting on the amended notice of motion. Thank you. Once again, members, anyone with any difficulties in voting, please let me know and we'll make sure that your vote is recorded.
Madam Mayor, could I say I have nothing on my panel and I vote for the motion?
Okay.
And Councillor Owen and Councillor Jones have also got their hands raised, Mr. Tranter.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Davis, I've made a note of that. Councillor Owen?
For the motion, please.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, Councillor Barbara Jones?
For the motion, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Any other difficulties for anyone? No. So that was comfortably carried, Madam Mayor, just with one abstention. Thank you.
Thank you,
Looks
Mr.
like the Chief
Tranter.
Exec abstained, Chair. Mayor.
Possibly. I can't comment. Thank you, Councillor Mann. Moving on to item 12 is the update on Welsh Government regulations to establish corporate joint committees and resultant changes to the Cardiff Capital Region Joint Committee. Leader, I understand that you will introduce the report. Before I call on you, I would like to bring in Mr. Chanter to give advice in relation to Appendix 1 of this report, which is exempt and subject to a public interest test. Thank you, Mr. Chanter.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So, members, before you this evening is a report on the CJC. You will see that one of the appendices to the report is an exempt item. So how we're going to run tonight, if that's okay with yourselves, is that we will run this as an open report, but if anybody wishes to ask questions about that appendix, the exempt appendix, then I'll come in, explain the pit test to you, you can vote on that, and we'll exclude the press and public if that's what you want. If there are no questions about that exempt appendix, then we can do everything as an open meeting. So I hope that's clear, but any questions, more than happy to assist. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chanter. Leader, can you introduce your report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, the report before you tonight updates you on the progress in the Cardiff Capital Region in relation to compliance with the Welsh Government requirements to set up a Corporate Joint Committee, or a CJC, and set its first budget by the 31st of January 2022. This report is being considered by all 10 of the CCR member councils during this month. Members will recall that the last CCR update to Council last May, where members endorsed a proposal to involve the CCR existing governance structure into a corporate joint committee in response to forthcoming Welsh Government legislation. At that time, my intention was to host a member seminar in advance of bringing the detailed CJC proposals to Council for approval back last autumn. But since then, there have been a number of complications in relation to setting up of a permanent CJC structure, so that the report was deferred. The report before you for consideration this evening sets out a do minimum proposal that allows us to comply with the Welsh Government legal requirement to have in place the CJC structure by the 31st of January, to initially facilitate the production of a regional strategic development plan and a regional transport plan. It essentially buys us time to bottom out the outstanding matters around VAT and tax. And once these have been resolved, it is my intention to host a member seminar in advance of bringing a further report to Council, seeking your approval for the permanent CJ structure, which will allow the city deal to flourish into a much more wider and ambitious city region. Some may argue that the Welsh Government were forcing us into this position. However, whilst Welsh Government have set out their requirement for regional work in specific areas, such as regional planning and regional transport, the CCR has been pivotal in shaping the legislation with Welsh Government as to ensure the CJC framework allows the CCR to unlock the shackles it currently has through its existing governance structure to allow it to operate as a fully fledged city region. These are the key headlines of the report, and I would like to now take you through in some detail contained within the report. So the report sets out the next phase of progress via the implementation of a lift and shift approach, which enables an interim CJC to be set up and a budget to be set by the 31st of January in order to comply with the Welsh Government deadline of the 31st of January 2022. In terms of the CJC functions, I would like to remind members that that Welsh Government has set out a set of commencement duties requiring the CJC to begin working on a strategic development plan, planning, regional transport planning, and the enactment of wider economic wellbeing powers. Whilst the CCR has achieved much to date, and there are also constraints, the CCR is also supported by an accountable body delivery structure which relies on complex back-to-back arrangements with constitute councils and does not afford the benefits of being able to act direct, to have its own balance sheet and to acquire and hold assets, and importantly, to borrow. The CCR has therefore outgrown its initial structure and operating model and needs to evolve to properly capitalise on investments and opportunities for the region. Notwithstanding this, the CCR City Deal Joint Working Agreement, the JWA, and its core values, principles and ways of working, in which every member council retain absolute control over the CCR decision making, must be maintained. With all of the above in mind, in September 2021, the Regional Cabinet approved a report that established a lift and shift model approach whereby the CCR City Deal agreement is moved into the CJC as a preferred model. As I mentioned earlier, there have been a number of unresolved issues, such as VAT status and corporation tax, which require further HMRC and HMT input, which may influence the shape and future operating model. These are covered in section 5 of the report. As a result of these uncertainties, combined with the legal CCR duties imposed by Welsh Government, a pragmatic and proportionate provisional approach is the recommended way forward. This will enable the CCR and its constituted councils to demonstrate it has commenced transition, ensuring compliance with the legislation and regulations. It is essentially creating the outline of the CJC as an absolute statutory minimum and as an interim holding position only. Key features of this interim position are set out in sections 5.20 and 5.21 of the report. Once clarity is obtained from the HMRC and HMT and the process for moving to a permanent CJC structure is clearer, then, as I said earlier, I intend to host a member seminar in advance of bringing the further report to Council for approval. I would like to add a further recommendation at 3.8 to read. Once the draft permanent governance CJC structure is developed, a member seminar is convened in advance of a further report being presented to Council for approval. I would therefore like to move the recommendations as set out in sections 3.1 to 3.8 of the report. Thank you. I move.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Councillor Adams, I understand that you will second this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I am more than willing to second this report to go to Council, including the additional 3.8 that the leader's just outlined. It's as we can all see, the date for this to go forward is next Monday, and I believe, Leader, that all other councils in the group of 10 are also hoping to take an appropriate decision this week as well. So it would be very remiss of us to not be doing that, because I'm sure that would cause an awful lot of embarrassment or a number of issues. So happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is now in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand again by clicking on the hands up button when you have finished making your representations. Thank you. Councillor Goff, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only to reaffirm my concerns going right back to the day that the city region was set up, and it's how and the amount of information that disseminates down to backbench councillors is totally inadequate, has been since it was set up. It debars and excludes certain backbench councillors from taking part in the process, and I think the whole structure needs looking at, even to our own regeneration board within the authority, to how we involve and engage with all members to let them take a full and active part on how we're going to progress in the next couple of decades. Because I think a lot of people feel excluded from the process.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Dix, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on the city deal, obviously we've got looking at a regional development plan, which will incorporate various local authorities. I was just wondering how that fits in with our own local development plan, to make sure that they're working together in conjunction, not against each other. Also, I think that we need to, I started another report and I just looked as well. When I went on the LDP focus group, I was disappointed to see that the northern end of Caerphilly, where a lot of money has been spent on the Heads of Valleys Road, come in at 3 times the cost and a couple of years over time, budget over the time as well. That even despite that investment, it's down on our own LDP for 0 housing growth. No, I'm not sure whether the Welsh Government has scored their own goal there by introducing extra costs regarding sprinkler systems. I believe that was one comment that the local builders put up in Wales. So it's made it more expensive to develop up there. Because what I don't want us to see is have a city deal, a local development plan, which both conclude that it is that northern end of the valley that is desperate for regeneration and new money, that doesn't miss out. And I think that needs to be addressed to make sure that, number one, the millions that have been spent on the new road is money well spent, that it serves the heads of the valleys area, which is part of our county borough. And it's not just a road that makes it easier and quicker to get into England. You know, we need to make sure that it works for Wales after this. And I just want to make sure that, you know, I was disappointed to see zero growth for the edge of the valleys. You know, this city deal is a one-off thing. We need to make it work for us and work for our residents, especially those in the northern end of the borough.
Thank you, Councillor Dix. Councillor Marsden, you've raised your hand, and Mr. Mark S. Williams is also on the call. Thank you.
Okay, if I can come in, and I'm sure Mark will probably come in after me in relation to this. No, absolutely, it's imperative that we get investment in the north. Councillor Dix, you're absolutely right, and it's important that, you know, our local our LDP here works closely and aligned very much to the regional element of this. It's important, you know, and I know our officers work closely with members of the CCR as well in terms of looking at things that, you know, for regeneration and investment, because it's key to that area. You're absolutely right, it can't be left behind, but there's a complex issue there. It's a very complex landscape in that area. We need employment, don't we? We don't just need housing, it is both. So it's an investment in infrastructure, it's an investment in housing, it's an investment in buildings, businesses, but it's also investment in skills in that area as well. And there are many master plans that are being developed along that Heads of the Valley road, and actually, you know, keeping it close to those Heads of the Valley authorities, so that we're all aligned and actually not trying to compete for the same type of things, because it's important that we look at that across there, because to many people in those areas, if you live 1 mile down the road, you don't, you know, the boundary between Merthyr and Rumney, it's not there, and similarly into Blaenau Gwent. So it is, because they're very much of their own community, aren't they, in that area? So absolutely wholeheartedly support the fact that we need to do that, and that, from my opinion, will always be brought to the fore, and I certainly raise it in any of the meetings that I'm in. Thanks, Councillor Dix.
Thank you for that, Councillor Marsden. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Mr. Williams, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to reassure Councillor Dix, the development framework in Wales is a 3-tier development. So the overarching thing is called the NDF, the National Development Framework, underpinned then by the SDP, Strategic Development Plans, which is referred to in this CCR report. And then obviously individual local authorities have their own local development plans, and all three work hand in hand, almost like a pyramid system. You know, they don't contravene each other, if you like. So, you know, that there is a framework in place. In terms of you commenting that there's zero growth in the LDP for the Heads of the Valleys area, our LDP is not set yet. All that is being debated at the minute are options for growth. So there is no growth set for any part of the county borough yet. Those decisions are yet to be made. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mrs. Harry, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If I may, I'll address some of Councillor Dix's points first, and then if I may go back to Councillor Goff's comments as well. In addition to what the leader has already outlined, there is a specific Heads of the Valley working group in place, and I'm one of the lead chief executives on that group that is working directly with the Economy Minister to look at a regeneration, physical regeneration and economic regeneration plan for the Heads of the Valley. Now that will actually align with our local development plan, and as Mark has already said, with the strategic development plan as well. Absolutely right, a lot of investment has been made into the Heads of the Valley road. Now what we've got to do is look at generating the economic advantages of that investment. If I may turn to Councillor Goff's comments around, you know, how do we keep backbench members particularly engaged with the workings of the city deal. There is a joint scrutiny already in place, and we have members on that joint scrutiny representing the council that scrutinises the role of the city deal. And also, if the CJC is formed, there will be further scrutiny surrounding that structure as well. The leader always aims to bring, regular updates to this forum on the workings of City Deal, but certainly this is something that we will be looking at over the next couple of months, because the governance framework that we have currently in place for our Team Caerphilly Transformation Programme, our Regeneration Board, and also the City Deal need to be brought together in a far more succinct and closer way. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. Councillor Dix, you've put your hand back up. Have you got an additional point or something along the same lines?
Yeah, just another point, just on the zero figures. I got those figures from one of our officers, Dave Lucas, where we had a session together regarding population growth, and we discussed figures of growth, and that's where I got the zero from. Obviously, I know that we're still in the process of making the LDP, but I will keep a close eye on the zero, see if it merges up a little bit. Hopefully, it will.
Thank you, Councillor Dix. Councillor Martin, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I share the concerns expressed earlier by Councillor Goff. I think there've been concerns ever since this joint arrangement was set up as to where the investment is going. And the whole process really, it's taking democracy further away from the likes of ordinary members, even cabinet members, but even more so backbench members. I mean, we got another example with the Education Achievement Service, where the cabinet member of education is on there, and that's the only sort of look-in that we get to that, and that in fact is a limited company. It's not a public body at all. So when you talk about the peripheral areas, or some people call it peripheral area in our sort of Rumney area, the top of the valley. If it's peripheral to this borough, how more peripheral is it to the 10 counties in the Cardiff arrangement? It is a concern. I mean, we are all asked questions by residents. And reality is that we don't actually get much of a say in reality in what is going on. I know there is a need for a regional agenda for things like transport, sometimes for planning. When Mark Williams went through the three tiers of planning, I wonder how many more planners that we were actually going to employ. There seems to be lots of them around already, but you do need a regional arrangement in some things, but the impression that has been given with this particular arrangement, ever from the start of it, is that it's something that's been certainly pushed by the Welsh government to what I regarded as fairly reluctant leaders of authorities, regardless of their political colour. Council leaders seem to be very reluctant to take this on board. I just wondered how the leader felt about this thing, and whether we are actually getting something that we can really support, or whether things are being done to the authority rather than by the authority.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Marsden, do you want to come in at that point?
Yeah, I'll come in quickly on that. No, thank you for the question, Councillor Mann. I think it's important to note, isn't it? I've come into something that's been in existence for a great deal of time, and and I'm getting to grips with the regional cabinet's role and what it does and what it sets out to achieve. And I think what's important is that actually it has evolved into a very mature relationship in terms of the 10 leaders from the 10 different authorities, all got different political persuasions. But what it has actually signified is that what we can do together more strategically in terms of attracting businesses into the area and gaining employment and skill sets for our communities. So it's important to note that actually we can target sectors to get, whether it's sectors in terms of, my mind's gone, sorry, sorry, I can't think of the word, sorry.
Mayor, if I may sort of add to what the leader has said, a couple of points that Councillor Mann has raised. The Heads of the Valley corridor is identified as a strategic growth corridor of regional significance of the city deal. So it really has quite a pivotal position within the region. And as you're aware, it is an east-west corridor link as well, so which is of significance economically. And we've already recognised, following Councillor Dix's question, there's an untapped potential there that we're currently working on, both locally and regionally. Just in terms of, the CJC, as the leader said in her introduction, it's a natural progression for the Cardiff capital region. We are operating as a city deal currently. What all the leaders sat around the table are united on is that we want to operate as a city region, and the two things are very different. The city region, operating as a city region, really open up the opportunity that we as a region can lever in significant investment into the region. And the current governance structures we have in place have served a purpose, but now's the time to unlock those shackles so that it opens up those opportunities for us. And the CJC permanent framework, which once as we get there, will really allow us to do that. So yes, Welsh Government have set out their stall in terms of how they want the regions to work. And, this is instead of reorganisation of local government. We've had that conversation previously. But certainly, we're a key player around the table. And, as you've already identified, Councillor Mann, there are things that we have to do regionally, that we need that economy of scale in order to make that impact. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. Councillor Mann, do you want to come back in at that point?
I won't keep you long, Mayor. I think we all recognise the importance and the cost of the Heads of the Valleys Road. I think it was several times overspent, sadly. But there it is. But really, I think somebody mentioned earlier, without providing the population in the top of the valley with the necessary skills so that they can actually take up jobs that are there. I mean, the key to it is not just housing. The key is having jobs, and sadly, companies like HIMAC, which were there for many years, disappeared. There were other large organisations in the top of the valley which disappeared. But you need, without the population having the necessary skills to apply for any jobs that are there, we're not going to get the solution that we're actually looking for. I mean, I recall the former leader trying to get the, I think it was the servicing operation for the or one of the servicing centres for the metro in Rumley. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, it is difficult. It seems very difficult to convince whoever's making these decisions that we merit sort of attention and investment, and that's the way it is.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Mrs. Harry, do you want to come back in?
Yes, if I may, Mayor. What we have up in the northern part of the county borough is a unique cluster of businesses, and they are very much in the place of life sciences, so the medical industry particularly. And we have a number of, medium-sized international companies that really want to grow. And that is one of the challenges that we have in our LDP in terms of, enabling those companies to grow and offering the land that they need in order to grow. So we are focusing very much on that life science cluster that is quite unique to the region. We need to skill up the people that we have in that part of the county borough in order to tap in to that need of those companies and to secure the employment that they, we know they need. But it is, as you said, a combined approach is needed. It's about employment, it's about skills, it's about housing. And that's where, the LDP and our local planning framework will certainly enable the objectives of the Cardiff capital region to materialise. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, diolch, Christina.
Thank you both. Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a great lots of misgivings about the CJC system. I'm not that happy with it at all, but unfortunately for me, that is now Welsh Government policy, and they've actually made regulations about it. Am I right in thinking that the CCR
must become a CJC under regulations passed by Welsh Government? If somebody can answer that one for me.
Mrs. Harry, please.
Yes, sorry, Mayor, struggling with the hands up function there. Yes, it is a legal requirement of the Cardiff Capital Region to incorporate a CJC into its administration. What the Cardiff Capital Region Joint Cabinet have agreed is that they use this as an opportunity to evolve and grow the Cardiff Capital Region from a city deal into a city region. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. So there's not a lot we can do about trying to stop this, because the regulation says it must happen, and therefore we have to make the best of it. And I just hope that we can make the best of it. Local authorities have always been good at regional cooperation. I can remember far back in sort of 2001 to 2004, when I was the cabinet member for highways and planning, that we had the South East Wales Transport Association, which was all the local authorities in South East Wales working together on the transport plans and on disseminating transport grant from Welsh Government through to individual local authorities. So local authorities have always had the regional working arrangements in place. I just don't like the way that the Welsh Government is implementing the CJCs, but that is regulation now, and I think I have to accept it. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ridgewell, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. If I can just add a little bit to the debate. As you're aware, I am the representative that sits on the scrutiny panel for the CCR, and I can assure everybody here that the notion of collaborative working is to the fore of everyone's thinking. I was myself recently at the last meeting and had reassurances from Kelly Burney, the director, on the importance of that. I think we all understand that, and particularly when it comes to the heads of the valley. If I just remind Councillor Mann, of course, that my colleague and a member of his party also sits on that group, Colin Ellsbury. So if he wants any questions answered, he might like to have a word with him.
Thank you, Councillor Ridgewell. I'm going to call the leader back in at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Absolutely. I just wanted to respond to Councillor Taylor in regard to that. Obviously, there's much merit, isn't there, in that regional and collaborative approach to planning things, like as you alluded to. And I think, you know, it's with that maturity within the CCR relationships within those 10 authorities where we're at in terms of being able to work together for a common cause, and also to be strategic in our development and our regeneration and our investment. I think that's really important. You know, well, there was nervousness around this, but what we absolutely felt as a regional cabinet that we should steer this from the front and make it what we wanted it to be. So it is the morphing of the CCR into a city region. And I think that's significant. And I think that's what we wanted to bring to bear, that is the fact that we wanted to lead on this and go first. And many of the other regions may follow us in good time. But it was important that we recognise on a formal footing that we can evolve and become something better and much improved as well. And I think this gives us that opportunity, even if it is being done to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Adams, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to take my almost my life in my hands now, because we haven't got Councillor John Bevan or Gaynor Oliver or Carl Cuss. I don't think it went with us tonight, and we've had a couple of comments from other members about the north of the borough in a couple of ways and development. Well, just to remind everyone, we do have communities well housed in the most part up in the north. There are plenty of people up there. They haven't all got the kind of jobs that we've been talking about, because they've lost some of those heavier industries over too many years. We have the workforce, We need to upskill them, as Christina has said. We want them to be the kind of people modern employers will be looking for. So let's get the jobs up there. Let's get the upskilling through education and training of the people who already live up there. And that will then generate the kind of development for housing, new housing, and all of that on top of itself. It will multiply. So let's remember the North is already there. It's already got people and a workforce. Not all of them have got the jobs that they want on their doorstep. Too many of them have to drive however many miles every day out and back. Let's get them the employment on their doorstep. Let's grow the area, and let's then make it somewhere that many more people will want to live. And I've mentioned this before, the 50 mile an hour on the now dual carriageway, the Blackrock Hill particularly, it's holding some of the transport back to get to the Midlands quickly. So that's something we need. We know why it's there. We know the air quality in that area is restrained. So we can still go west, can't we? Towards Swansea, towards Merthyr. So let's not forget that the north of the borough is there, and it could be and should be a jewel in our community if we give it the right focus. Sorry, John, if you listen to this, and I've tried to give some of your points of view, but I'm with you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Whitcomb, please.
Just a couple of points, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, one of the things you need to consider with the skills agenda in the north of the borough is probably the only FE college that is offering a range of vocational courses is Merthyr. The vocational offer in the Learning Centre in Ebervale is very, very restricted. And unless we can get Coleg Cymmoedd and Coleg Gwent to increase the amount of vocational learning offers they get up there, we're never going to achieve the level of skills growth that we require in the area. And listening to the debate, all I'll say, as a former employee of the WDA, I think we should bring it back. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whitcomb. Councillor Harvard, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, listening to what Mike has said and Andrew, you know, I mean, I know I live in the soft south now, right? Where the sunshine and the grapes are, but I'm a Merthyr boy, right? Did my apprenticeship, I was born and bred in Merthyr, and I did an apprenticeship in Merthyr. And we just haven't got the skills that we should have. Now, you're all governors at one point or another. How many of you take an interest in the new curriculum that's being taught? Andrew was saying about the FE colleges. You know, if we say to future employers, we've got the skills, come here, they'll come, because I've been through it. I went through it in the 50s, a long time ago. But you know, you have to. You're all governors. I wonder how many. We got over 1,000 governors in Caerphilly. But I wonder how many of you take a deep interest in what's going on with the new curriculum, which is aimed towards upskilling. Please, you know, we've got a governors association that I would love. We get speakers, come and see, but go into the schools and find out exactly what's going on with this curriculum, because we've got to put pressure on them so that they can put pressure on our kids to become upskilled. It's a simple circle, but you got to do it. You got to wake up and do it. Listen to what Andrew is saying about the FE. Mike is expressing it. Those are two people I see quite a lot of in the governors thing, but there's an awful lot of you governors who don't take an interest at all. And believe me, it's the future. And I know what I'm talking about. This is my field. You know, I'd love to see everybody sort of available. We look after our graduates. We make sure that we got university courses available. That's fine. But there's an awful lot of people in between graduate and further on in the population who are quite capable of running industries. I know, I've met them, I've been there. And you really, I mean, we've got to put pressure on as governors, and, you know, mentions made of EAS. Colin Mann is quite right. We don't have enough representation on EAS. As far as governors are concerned, we could be running our own. You know, we should be ensuring that if you're an LA governor, how many of your LA governors am I looking at the moment who know what the Director of Education's priorities, our own Director's Education priorities are? You know, please let's look at these skills and do what you can to improve them. Oh, sorry about that, Madam Mayor. On my soapbox, I didn't realise I felt so strongly about it. Thank you. Thank you, members, for listening.
No problem, Councillor Havard. Thank you. Councillor Walter Williams, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Being one of the councillors from north of the borough, the Argoed ward, I mean, the border with Argoed ward is Blaenau Gwent. And there's one thing that we do need, or two things we need, is better communication and also better transport link to the edge of the valley. It's all right from Tredegar up, but from Blackwood to Tredegar, that road has been as it was when I was a kid riding the three-wheeler bike. So let's look at the infrastructure rather than just think about building more houses and more getting the factories in. They won't come unless they can get easy access to motorways. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Cass, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just going on really on what Councillor Adams was saying about the north of the valley. You know, and he mentioned Councillor Oliver, Councillor Bevan, and, you know, those members have been on this authority a lot longer than I have. And this, you know, this argument has been going on for years and years, decades and decades about the north of the valley. And I know it's a running joke with some people, oh, Carl or John is going on about the north of the county borough, but it's, you know, it's serious. That's why we go on about it, because, you know, you look at the scale of the investment that is going on in the county borough, particularly in the south of the borough, which is great, and I fully welcome any prosperity in the county borough. But if you look at the cost involved in regenerating the Caerphilly Basin and other areas down the south, and you can compare that to the north of the borough, we are deprived of that funding and that resource. And until we get the Upper Rhymney Valley on the agenda of Caerphilly Council cabinet meetings or higher strategic meetings on a regular basis, and there's actions to be addressed, and people are holding those officers to account, particularly cabinet members, so that we are addressing those issues, then this issue is going to be discussed when I'm in my 60s. You know, and I don't want that. I want it to change. In the past, I know the former leader, Dave Poole, one of the first things he said when he was elected leader, that he wanted to try and address the inequality between the south and the north of the borough. And, you know, and we're still talking about it now. We have the Edge of the Valleys master plan, which is great. I fully support that. It was a really good report. But again, you know, it's words. There's no money attached to that plan. We need finance to make sure that that plan, you know, is said what is said in the actual document. We've also had Ken Skates, you know, when he was the minister for the economy, he came up, we showed him, you know, certain sites up at the north of the borough that would be perfect for business and regeneration. But, you know, nothing came of that. We've also got, you know, issues with the road links. You know, I know we say about the Heads of the Valleys Road, we're still waiting for a resolution on the road between New Tredegar and Pontlottin. And I know it's not an easy solution to deal with, but that's a particular issue that, you know, is causing issues with people in the north of the valley. So, you know, unless we get, you know, all these plans and all these meetings and all these things that we are saying, if there's money attached to it, and there's actually promises made that will be delivered. And I think, you know, we'll be able to address some of those issues that we've all been discussing, because, you know, I'm born and bred in Rhymney. I want to see the north of the valley, you know, regenerated like what we are seeing in other parts of the county borough. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cuss. Leader, please.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Sorry, Councillor Cuss, thank you for your comments. And absolutely, you know, the conversation that, the mention that Christina Harry said about in terms of the master plan, the new head to the valley area, this has nothing to do with our master plan. This is one very much built on 4 or 5 authorities across the heads of the valley to look at this, you know, quite in an urgent manner, you know, so to look at sites and premises that we can bring forward, to look at other things. And there's a whole host of things, you know, and I'm lobbying the Minister to get funding to set up. So we've got oven-ready projects to actually bring to the fore. We know that we've got sites and premises that across the piece that we could bring. But again, it's those other things, it's the skills, it's and other areas of different sectors that we need to tackle into. So absolutely, I'm only just getting to grips to this. If you can imagine that I've taken over as leader, taken on the regional cabinet role in a time of a pandemic. So there's been a few other things that have kind of taken my eye away from what we need to do. But I am absolutely adamant that I will stand there and argue that we need investment, particularly around infrastructure, like Walter's just said, in terms of roads. You know, the A469 is a priority. We are very much aware of that. So I'm not, you know, I'm not sitting back on any of these items because I know it's important and I know how important it is to those communities, you know, to feel part of a regeneration movement, you know, so it's important that the works that, you know, and as Christina says, she's sitting on the chief exec group of that. I'm also taking it from as a leader with other leaders, you know, in this field as well. So we are banging the drum. Believe you me, we are banging the drum. But what you've got to remember is we've had almost a 2-year freeze because of the pandemic, and that has not helped anything because it just means investment is stalled or things have just been delayed. We approved today, you know, 4 major projects for 21st century. Now, we would have hoped they would have come a year and a half ago, but they are delayed because of the pandemic. Now, you know, we're seeing a way out of that now, and I think it's important to note that we're on it now. We're on that plan. You know, and I think, you know, the CJC structure and moving forward, doing this lift and shift model now will give us that incentive to go forward and actually to help deliver. But it's important that we understand that, you know, it is and it's very complex in the north. We understand that. There's a whole host of issues here and none of those items can be taken in isolation. So I hope that helps, Carl.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Steve Skivens, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have always had reservations about whether the city deal, whatever it morphs into, will actually deliver for the north of our area. But putting that to one side for the moment, the conversation tonight is almost a blueprint of why we need regionalisation, particularly in business areas. Having had in the past supplied workers to a number of industries in that part of the world, there is distinct differences. In one area is the food sector. Christine mentioned in Caerphilly is more high-tech medical jobs, and then when we move across to Merthyr, it's more engineering and manufacturing. And, you know, there is that conversation there that there must be some strategy, and then behind it, an educational and development program actually delivers for that strategy. So the conversation, I think, has been very useful in almost demonstrating why we do need a regional approach. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Skivens. Councillor Dix, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just to say that it was good to see Councillor Cuss coming in there with an impassioned plea for this area. You know, he knows the area far better than I do. I've only ever worked up as a contractor in the past, and was saddened by what I saw over the years when they lost the industry. The heavy industries went and nothing was put in its place and left it a bit of a desert. You know, we've had 20 years of devolution, and this should have been high on the agenda from day one. Devolution, when we had the powers to do stuff and investment. And I noted Carl's comments about we've had to all talk and talk. You know, what we don't want is talk. We want action, because as a council, I want to see the area developed. I want to see everybody having a fair share of any prosperity or investment that's going around from Welsh government or central government. And I think that it's important that that we don't let people like Carl down. So when he is 60, my age, that he can look back. Maybe he'll have more hair than I got. I don't know if he got hair now, but anyway, we'll look back and he'll say, yep, something was done. And the people of that area do have a chance to flourish and, you know, to make their lives better. and I think that's so important. And you know, we've had 20 years. Let's get it right now. In, you know, in this final solution we're going to put forward, make sure it's all encompassing, that we feel confident, that people like Carl feel confident that his community and the other councils up there are going to actually benefit from it. So I think that, you know, it's important that we this is achieved and not just talk, as Carl said.
Thank you, Councillor Dix. Councillor Pritchard, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Councillor Cuss has just identified why he's such a popular councillor in his own ward and indeed the Upper Rumney Valley, because as Councillor Dix has just said, he's made an impassioned plea, an impassioned case for his local area, and he's doing a fantastic job up there. But what I would say, and I know Councillor Cuss is aware of this, and indeed the leader has mentioned it in her contribution regarding the A469, and I know the Chief Executive as well has been lobbying very, very hard. We have written to the Minister a couple of months ago in relation to this. This is a key priority for us as an administration. I know you're aware of that, Carl, but I just want to re-emphasise that the A469 is a key issue, and we will not stop in our determination. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Councillor James, please. Martin James. Councillor James, I can't see you, and I think you're on mute as well.
Can you hear me? Sorry, Madam Mayor, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My question is, do we have figures on how much investment has been put into the top of the valley over the last 6 years since we, started to take part in the city deal compared to other parts of Caerphilly, maybe Caerphilly Town or Caerphilly Basin? But, how much investment have we spent there? And how many jobs have we created? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James. Mrs. Harry, can I ask you to come in there, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members would appreciate I haven't got those figures to hand, but I know that this is something that members have previously asked for and they have been provided, so I can more than happily dig those figures out and circulate them once again. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. Councillor Morgan, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, just about the north of the borough, I'd just like to say that obviously the first thing that any area needs is transport connections, and the work going on in the dualling of the A465, the work going on with Transport for Wales to run a train in and out of Rumney every 15 minutes to Cardiff. There's going to be electrified trains. This is all part of the Transport for Wales ambitions. It's those connections that make things such as the medical cluster, which I know is going on there, and makes areas such as the Capital Valley industrial site. It's once those transport links are in place that it really does open up the place, and that's the first shining light for the north of the borough, and gives me great hope for what can be achieved there in the future. The A469 obviously needs that money. That's the main arterial link to the south of the borough. But the main thing is being put in place there. But I'd like to come back to the report and this statutory requirement that we have. This is a statutory requirement being asked of us on something which we had already voluntarily taken part in as a city deal, and this transition is a lot less painful because of it. I take on board lots of what many councillors have said about representation on there, and these are things which really need to be ironed out, and it needs to be ironed out through. I'm very glad to hear that the leader has said that there is going to be a seminar on this in the future. I thank the leader for that, because these questions really need to be ironed out, and they can be ironed out in that open forum of the seminar. And because this will be the precursor for that corporate joint committee on regional planning and a corporate joint committee on transport, and in the future the really difficult ones, they may be become a statutory requirement, which would be a joint approach to education and a joint approach to social services. And I think increasingly each CJC will have its greater problems. But coming back to this report, I fully support the report, and I fully support the leader's approach to it in having a seminar to iron out all these issues for councillors. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I have no further hands showing.
Mayor, could I just make one comment in the point that Councillor Morgan made? It's all very well having a better transport, train transport, every 15 minutes. The concern I got is most of the passengers are going down south. We need to have up north there for them to come up north. That is the message.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Any further comments? No. Councillor Adams.
Actually, in line with Councillor Davis's comment then, when Councillor Morgan said about 15-minute electric trains all the way up to Cardiff, what about all the places in between where there may well be job opportunities on that route? It isn't just getting everyone to go into Cardiff. That's happened far too much for the last 30 years. We want people to be able to say, there's a job in Bargood, there's a job in Caerphilly, I can get off the train there for that particular job. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Walter Williams, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In relation to Councillor Morgan's statement there about trains down the Rummy Valley every 15 minutes. Well, that's on the one side of Argoed Ward. On the other side of the Argoed Ward, we got a train going from Eberville to Newport and Cardiff. But the Argoed Ward, we're stuck with a bus. And actually 56 service from Newport only goes as far as Blackwood on the weekends. I know you talk about the future. Now we want the basic transport in the Argoed Ward. We neglected, now have been for years. Thank you.
Sorry about that, members. Thank you, Councillor Williams. Okay, there are no further hands showing, so I'm going to ask Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, the voting poll will be before you now. You are voting on the establishment of the CJC with the new regulations and the 7 recommendations within paragraph 4 of the report. So if you could vote, please, that would be great. Any members having difficulties in voting, please give me a shout and let me know how you wish to vote, and we'll record that. Councillor Jones?
I'm sorry about this, but I support the motion.
Thank you very much. That will be noted. Any other members? Councillor Owen?
For the motion, please.
Thank you. That will be noted. Thank you. Madam Mayor, the report is approved. The recommendations within the report are comfortably carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. We're moving on to item 13, which is the Council Tax Reduction Scheme. Councillor Stenner, I understand that you will introduce this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report before us this evening is to seek Council's approval of the Council Tax Reduction Scheme for the 2022-23 financial year. The scheme provides for claimants to receive a reduction of up to 100% of their council tax bills in certain circumstances. These arrangements have been in place since the 2014-2015 financial year, and the Council has adopted this scheme on an annual basis. The Council is required to formally approve a council tax reduction scheme on an annual basis. The recommendation is shown at 3.1 of the report that the current council tax reduction scheme should continue for the 2022-23 financial year, along with the previously agreed local discretions. I move.
Thank you, Councillor Stenner. Councillor Whitcomb, I understand that you will second this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm more than happy to second the report. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand again by clicking on the hands up button when you are finished making your representations. Thank you, members. I have no hands showing, so I'll give you a couple of more seconds, and if nobody raises their hand, I'm going to ask Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Okay, Mr. Tranter, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure whether anybody seconded the recommendation in the report. Perhaps, yeah, the leader then seconds that recommendation. That's fine. Members, you've got a voting poll in front of you. Can you please vote on the council tax reduction scheme, please? Again, please give me a shout if there are any difficulties.
I'm shouting again, Rob. I'm shouting again.
Okay, Councillor Jones, would you like to vote on this?
For the motion.
Okay, thank you very much. That will be noted. Councillor Owen?
Yes, for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That will be noted. Thank you, Councillor Owen. That's unanimously carried, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter.
Madam Mayor, can I give notice I'm leaving the meeting now?
Thank you, Councillor Davis. No problem. Item 14.
Yeah, Chair, and me, I got to go another meeting.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnson. Anyone else before I move on to item 14? Okay, thank you. Item 14 is the Gambling Act 2005, review of statement of licensing policy. Councillor George, I understand that you will introduce this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Gambling Act 2005 requires the licensing authority to prepare, consult upon and approve a statement of gambling licensing policy that must be reviewed every 3 years. The current policy was approved by Council and published in January 2019. The current policy has been reviewed and a consultation exercise is undertaken with the relevant bodies. The revised policy is attached to Appendix 1, and the main changes are in Annex 7, which is mandatory default in Caerphilly Borough Council's pool of model conditions. The addition of the pool of model conditions will assist gambling operators, responsible authorities, and interested parties when considering conditions to deal with specific issues and concerns. The policy was considered by Licensing and Gambling Committee on the 14th of December, who recommended the policy to Council for approval. I'd like to move the recommendation set out in 3.1 of the report that Council consider and approve the revised statement of gambling licensing policy as detailed in Appendix 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor George. Councillor Walter Williams, I understand that you will second this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, as Vice Chair of Taxi and Licensing Committee, I am happy to second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is now in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand again by clicking on the hands up button when you're finished making your representations. Thank you. Councillor Mann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to support this report. I've been running a book on the chance of it getting through.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Any other comments, please? No? Okay. I am going to pass this on to Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The poll is there, members. If you could vote the review of statement of gambling licensing policy. That's what you're voting on. If you could vote, please. Anybody having trouble, please let me know. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Tranter, me again, but I support the motion.
That's noted. Thank you, Councillor Jones and Councillor Owen. Like a duo tonight.
Yes, we are. 4, please.
4. Okay, I've got that noted. Thank you very much, Councillor Owen. No other members having difficulties? The statement is unanimously approved, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. And moving on to item 15, we have the Advanced Voting Centre Pilot, Local Government Election, May 2022. Councillor Gordon, I understand that you will introduce this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of the report is to seek approval to participate in the advanced electoral pilots driven by Welsh Government in the forthcoming local government and community council elections. Advanced voting to be held on Saturday the 30th of April 2022 and Sunday the 1st of May 2022. This is in addition to election taking place on Thursday the 5th of May 2022. The Council General and Minister for the consultation published in a statement in July 2021 setting out an agenda for electoral change. This included lowering the voting age to 16 for local government elections, extending the franchise to all foreign citizens and the opportunity to develop advanced voting pilots. Welsh Government wrote to all authorities in Wales asking for expressions of interest from any authority wishing to participate in electoral pilot. Following consultation with group leaders and the returning officers informed Welsh Government of Confree's interest in establishing an advanced voting centre in Tipenalta on weekend before the ordinary day of poll. With that, Mayor, the recommendations of 3.1 are that the advanced voting pilot take place at Penalta House on Saturday the 30th of April and Sunday the 1st of May, subject to the necessary IT systems being in place. I move the recommendations on the report.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Adams, I understand that you will second this report. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, more than happy to second this report and the motion Councillor Gordon's just outlined. I'll have to consider being one of those early voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you are finished making your representations. Thank you. Councillor Mann, please.
Yeah, just a quickie, Mayor. Looking at the proviso in the recommendations, are we expecting IT to be ready by then?
Mayor, Dave Beecham is on the call. Perhaps you'd like to come in.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Mr. Beecham, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, there's one or two small things that we need to assure ourselves in terms of the IT being in place, but it's looking on track. Our developer, iDocs, is promising to deliver in time, and we're on a confidence level fairly high that it will be delivered.
Thank you, Mr. Beecham.
Yeah, no bad.
Any further comments from anyone? Councillor Owen, please.
Yeah, I must admit I haven't read or got round to reading all of this. I've had computer issues for the last couple of days. I missed the scrutiny on Monday. But with reference to the software, etc., and whatever, is this this pilot then? It's totally electronic, so it's not going to be that you take your cards along as you would if going to your normal polling station on the normal polling day. I might be a bit off track here, but I do apologise. I haven't had a chance to get through all the information.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Mr Beecham, can you answer that for us, please?
The electronic element, Councillor Owen, is behind the scenes within the voting centre. So voters would attend the early voting centre as normal. They may have their poll card with them, they may not, it doesn't matter. But the electronic element is to allocate the correct ballot papers to the correct people and make sure that the integrity of the process, and that if they vote on the weekend, obviously it makes sure that they can't go back to the Thursday and vote on the Thursday as well. So it's to ensure the integrity is behind the scenes.
Thank you, Mr Beecham.
Yeah, can I just come back on that, Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, thank you for that. That answers the question. Just a question really on the uptake on this generally. Are we one of a few authorities, or is everybody going for this? That's just out of interest, that's all.
If you want me to answer, no problem. There's 4 authorities, Councillor Owen, ourselves, Blaenau Gwent, Bridgend and Torfaen.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Councillor Gordon, do you want to come in at that point, please?
Yeah, I was going to answer what David just said. I also missed to say that the Saturday and Sunday opening time in T Penaldo will be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry, it wouldn't be the normal like 7 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. in the evening. It'd just be a 6-hour stint.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Adams, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I seconded this, I meant to ask the question: will we be making any advance notification of this to try to encourage our first-time younger voters to try this out and give them the experience of, hopefully, many of them will want to do it for many, 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 many years in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr Beecham?
Yeah, we'll be informing all households and all voters of the opportunity to vote at the advanced voting centre, whatever their age. Obviously, we'll be making a specific push at young electors because of the new franchise. But yeah, it'll be in part of our regular comms plan. Of course, it'll be on the poll cards for everyone to see when they go out as well.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Leader, do you want to come in at that point, please?
Yeah, it was just a comment on that really, in terms of what Dave Beecham's just informed us of. It's the whole point of this was that to encourage as many people as possible to engage with the voting process, and it was looked at, I suppose, and the ask was to look at a whole host of pilots to do many things to see if they could increase the number of voters, that come through, because we all know the turnout sometimes isn't particularly good. So it was a number of factors that Welsh Government felt was really important to engage with voters and just to give a different offer to see if there was any difference. And I think it's important that we're part of this pilot, because I think we just need to test the water and just to see if there is if people would prefer to vote on different days. And again, it's important, isn't it, that we attract younger voters as well, because they're really important, because they need to have their say. So thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Mrs. Harry, do you wish to come in?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just to go back to Councillor Owen's point around the digital aspect of voting. As returning officers, we are collectively lobbying Welsh Government to actually move to electronic voting, because you'll be aware our colleagues in Scotland are in a very different place here. So not something that they're quite ready for yet in Wales, but something that as returning officers we will continue to lobby. And just to advise members, while I've got the floor, Mayor, just to share with you, pre-election period, it looks like the date will be the 28th of March, so a date for your diary. Thank you, members. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. Councillor Cushing, please.
Hopefully my dog will be quiet for 2 minutes. Just to ask if this is, oh God, here he goes. I do apologise. If it's successful, will we be opening up regional offices throughout Caerphilly County Borough Council? I'll put you on mute now.
Thank you. Who would like to take that one? Mr. Beecham or Mrs. Harry? Anybody knows the answer to?
I don't think we do know the answer to that. Obviously, the pilot across the 4 authorities will be evaluated by Welsh Government to see how successful it be, and we'll have to take it from there.
Thank you very much. Okay, there are no other hands showing. Give you a couple of seconds because sometimes you catch me out. Still no hands showing, so I'm going to quickly hand over to Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote. Thank you.
If you could vote on this then, members. The poll is in front of you. Early voting. Let's hope it doesn't cause the problems it causes in America. Anybody having a problem with voting, please let me know. Councillor Owen, Councillor Jones. Councillor Jones, yeah.
Sorry, I think I was on mute then. I do apologise. It's not like me. Yes, I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Owen?
Yes, in favour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Owen. That will be noted. Madam Mayor, that's comfortably carried. Just one abstention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. And moving on to item 16. It's to note the following report, which was considered as an urgent item and an exempt item by Cabinet. The Lawns Rumney culvert issues and subsequent cost overrun. Members, it is a requirement of the Constitution that any urgent item presented to Cabinet must be reported for noting to Council. The report and reasons for urgency and the decision of Cabinet are noted in the covering report. So noted. Okay, there are no hands showing, so I think we don't need to do anything else. No, that's great. So we've now reached the conclusion of the meeting, and I would like to thank everyone for attending this evening's meeting of Council, and I would like to declare the meeting closed, and you may now hang up. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.